All right, welcome back to My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie Fox, and I am back here with All Time Low, celebrating 20 years of All Time Low with the All Time Low Forever Tour. Going to be in Williamsburg tonight as we record this. This is coming out on Friday, so the album will be out as well, the Forever Sessions. Okay. Very exciting time. I feel great about it because I've gotten to listen to it. I got it last week, and it's been on repeat constantly.
Like, oh, you have it?
Oh, I have it.
Oh shit!
I don't have a physical copy, but I got the.
I don't think we have a physical copy.
There is a physical copy.
Yeah. How are you guys? Because I know yesterday was a crazy travel day for you guys.
Stoked. I feel good now. God, it was like a 4 a.m. day that dragged on and on and on. But
and a 2-show day, 2 acoustic shows.
I was
so
a little bit
as hard, but
I was a little bit delirious. I feel like the banter was kind of like I felt like I was floating above all of us as we were doing the show.
It's so funny because like these shows that we're doing like tonight and moving forward the rest of this week are very structured and like we've rehearsed them a lot. For the acoustic shows we did yesterday, we like practiced every song we knew how to do, but song 1 does not flow into song 2, does not flow into song 3. So in between each song, there's like, if there needs to be or wants to be, 20 minutes of banter. So like we did.
There was a cheese break last night.
I was fed.
Took
I was
a piece
fed
of
brie
cheese out of the crowd, and every member of the band got a whack of that cheese.
Yeah.
It was a good brie, honestly.
It was a good brie, to be fair.
They were good. It was a good show. Like just seeing you guys acoustic was very cool.
Honestly, we don't get to do that enough.
Yeah.
And that setup was interesting. Like obviously, it's a bit funny having people eating in front of you while you're playing a gig, but it was.
Yeah, we've never done that type of acoustic
dinner
gig.
theater is not something we've dabbled in much, but no, it was cool. It was like special, intimate. Different.
It kind of gives you an appreciation.
Tour?
What'd you say?
Could you see yourself doing an acoustic tour?
I think so. We've done a few of those. We did the Ryman last year, and that was one of the most special things we've ever done. It's really tough to because you do an acoustic tour, that means you're taking the place of an actual tour. You know what I mean? So the timing of it has to be right, where if we put out a new record or new music, you don't necessarily want to then just do an acoustic tour. So a lot of weird little logistical things to hurdle, but we would love to do it.
In theory, though, I just love them, and I love the loose vibe of the show, and kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't feel very structured in a good way. You can have like more fun with it.
Do you have fun like playing songs, especially songs that you've played 10,000 times? Like playing them acoustic, does it feel fresh?
Great question.
Yeah, it's always interesting kind of restructuring and reformatting songs to fit that vibe. Like not all of our music works well that way, and so it's kind of fun going in and figuring out which songs will scale down and break down in that kind of environment.
Yeah, no So Long Soldier last night.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to pull off.
Ryan can't keep up with that beat anymore.
Ryan last night, though, I did tell him my main takeaway immediately was like, oh my God, he's abusing those sticks. And like, you're going to need to give the entire crowd safety goggles.
I have a cut.
I know.
I have a cut on my
the
face.
worst fucking invention in music.
I mean, he was throwing shrapnel all over the venue.
It sucks, man.
It was in wine glasses, in cheese cups.
So for those that don't know, when we play acoustic, I don't hit nearly as hard, but to help that, I use what are called hot rod sticks, which are basically like if you were to tape 20 chopsticks together.
It's a bunch of diffusers.
Yeah, or it's like a reed diffuser, yeah. And we were at rehearsal, man, and what'll happen is, I'll go for an accent or a hit, and slowly but surely they'll shrapnel off.
Not slowly.
Yeah.
Very
I took a full-on like dart to the eyes the other day.
Bad.
You were chopping wood back there, baby.
It looked like a woodshop class.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't really hit that hard. Then you showed me a video of me playing. I was like, what an asshole. Like, what are you doing?
Well, I showed him. I sent a video to my brother, who is a drummer, and I just sent him a video, no context of the show, and he was like, I respect how reckless Ryan is being with that.
And then, people in the crowd were getting hit. I just don't know what to do.
Reckless is a good word for it.
Yeah. And a show like tonight, very small scale show for you guys. My first All Time Low show ever was on the My Small Package tour.
Wow.
Which was like, at the time, it was, you guys were saying this is a scaled down tour for us. This is even more scaled down than that.
Underground?
That was Irving Plaza.
Oh, was it Irving?
Yeah. So
that's
this is
pretty big for that tour,
this is like
actually.
half the size of that even.
Yeah.
Do you guys enjoy doing this? Is it weird for you guys? Like, are you still using wireless packs? You don't need them.
It's hard to bring the production because I mean for this run of shows we've been jumping between big venues, small venues,
Red
all
Rocks
kinds of,
to this.
exactly. So it's kind of funny bringing the entire touring package out and then scaling down for a show like this, then knowing that we're going into Merriweather in Maryland, DC in a couple days and going up to like 10,000 people, and it's just. It's odd to get your head around because it's a very different show dynamic. You know, it's like you prep, we go into rehearsal and you're imagining what the show is going to translate to that many people, 10,000 people. And then coming into a room like this, it's just a very different energy. You can see every face, and it becomes a little more loose, a little more off the cuff. But it's fun. Like, this is what we started out doing, you know, like these kinds of rooms are
been big back then.
These are our, this is our bread and butter. And I feel like you never really forget that or let go of it. And I almost like going back and doing these kinds of shows as much as possible, because it almost like hones you a little bit more. Yeah. It's different when you're up in front of a ton of people, because you scale the show and you kind of, I don't want to say you disconnect from the crowd, but you're performing outward rather than like at people. And so in a room like this, it's you and the people in the room, and there's no way to fake that.
Also, my favorite thing about these shows, like the smaller ones, is it's always the diehards.
Yep.
So you know that no matter what you play, the crowd's gonna be fucking crazy, and you can kind of play some older shit and know that everyone's gonna know it.
Yeah. It's come in. Do we want to let him in?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's see who it is.
Oh, sorry. What's up? You're good.
Is there no sign on the door?
This is the joys of
this is backstage
podcasting in the dressing room.
Delivery. Yeah.
This is gonna happen.
Was that my Taco Bell? Because maybe let him in.
I think he wanted to stock the fridge.
Thank you for coming to us, by the way.
If he is bringing booze, then we should probably let him in.
We should go and say real quick to you listeners and watchers that Mr. Fox has traveled from his faraway home to Williamsburg to the venue.
You've done us a kindness, though.
But you're acting like this is like I'm doing you guys a favor. You're my favorite band. This is like pretty cool for me.
You traveled across town. You crossed a bridge for this.
I crossed a couple bridges.
And not only that, you were going to pack up your big Pelican and then go back across a couple of bridges, walk your dog, bring your fiance. By the way, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, ladies, he's taken. Are you coming tonight?
I am, of course.
Okay, yeah, then come back.
I'm excited for tonight. Do you get like nostalgia doing shows like do you actually feel like you did like back then? Like, do you get the memories of that?
That's a good one, man. I think for sure. But it doesn't feel like unnatural. Like playing up here, if the crowd reacts, that same feeling of whether we're playing like 5,000, 10,000 people, that feeling's the same. It's just this is what we did for so many years, and having the crowd that close, it just feels right.
Yeah.
Like, and I still get nervous for it. Like tonight, when we go on and play some songs we haven't played for a while, I'll still get really nervous about hitting that.
It's almost a little bit more pressure. Like I was saying, like when you're playing big rooms, like you can go inward. Mm-hmm. You can kind of lose yourself just in the scale of the whole thing. And if you're having an off night or an off song or whatever, you can kind of just remove yourself from it for a minute, turn around. I face Ryan. It's like a little brain reset. But here it's like in these small rooms, small vibes, you're just like any little mistake, any little off energy, off vibe, it's much more palatable for everyone, and you feel it more. So
you see the reaction in the fans' face. Like,
you can literally see people roll like going, oh no.
I do feel more comfortable in rooms this size though, because like we all get imposter syndrome when we play bigger venues.
Yeah,
like,
for
anytime
sure.
we play an arena, like headline one, we're like, the fuck are we doing here?
Right.
Like this isn't. We haven't done it enough to make it be like our thing.
Right.
And so when we play shows like this, you really do feel like, oh, I'm back home.
Now, I want to get into the Forever Sessions, but before we do that, we got to talk Basement Noise Records. Great name. Love
Thank
the
you.
name.
Oh yeah.
Ryan didn't come up with it.
I did not.
When did the concept of, hey, let's do Basement Noise Records, let's be our own boss now, when did that come into the fold?
So it kind of was a progression. We came up with this idea of doing these re-records. We, at the same time, at the beginning of this year, our record contract with Fueled by Ramen was up. So we knew that we were going to sort of be figuring out what the next phase was, the next step. We are currently independent, label-less, or were. But you know, it's hard to put out a project completely label-less. So we danced around a few different ideas and ultimately landed on, look, like the whole point of us doing these re-records, or a large part of that, is us taking ownership back of our old music by making these re-records. So, you know, to facilitate that, we said, let's start our own label. Let's put these out ourselves. We partnered up with some great friends at Photo Finish, and they've been awesome in facilitating us doing this the way that we wanted to get it done. And I think what's exciting about it is, like, we've only planned so far ahead, but I think the ultimate goal was to start something where not only is it now an outlet for our own releases, but maybe an outlet for signal boosting other artists, new artists, up and coming artists. You know, I don't think we're at that stage yet, because this is just getting started, but it allows us to open that door. And I think 20 years into a career, like, we're trying to find new ways to do things, and this is one more of those steps.
I feel like that'd be really. I feel like you guys are a very good band in terms of putting younger artists on, like opening for you guys.
Yeah,
sure.
I've discovered so many bands just based on All Time Low's openers.
We love it, man.
So I like that extends to. It could extend to a record label or something like that one day.
I think that's the plan. Hopefully, is to be able to facilitate, in the same way that veteran bands, older bands facilitated us when we
legacy
were
acts,
as they say. I mean, literally, like one of the reasons, going back, one of the first labels that we ever talked to was Triple Crown. And that was all through Andrew, who played in Receiving End of Sirens. It was the similar kind of thing. We opened up for them. He put us on to the label, and suddenly labels started calling. So we wouldn't be here now without that moment.
It should be noted, Triple Crown did not like us.
They didn't sign us. They passed. That's fine. No hard feelings.
But Andrew's still a dear friend.
Yeah.
Now, when you're actually revisiting your old music, but through the lens of let's like re-record and almost like analyze stems and break them down like that, what was that experience like? Is it weird listening to the stuff you made in high school?
Only just because of how terrible it sounds.
Yeah, a lot.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering. As an all-time low fan who's lived with
it's-
this music and I've played it 10,000 times in the car and stuff, it doesn't sound terrible to me.
No, it sounds amazing.
But every time I talk to you guys about the re-record, you're like, yeah, we
It's
actually
so
made it sound
tough,
good.
man, because like we all have songs that we like attach ourselves to that band. So like
Yeah.
when I hear, Damn It or anything off of Dude Ranch, for me, it doesn't sound great, but for me, that's what I want it to sound like. Because
Right.
that's what I attach. That's what made me fall in love.
It's a point in time. It's a landmark and an anchor to that point in time when you fell in love with it. And I think that was the tricky thing for us was, this is not a statement or a call out to the quality of the songs then or the original releases. It's really like, it's about it's about the ownership, but B, it's about we're different musicians.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are completely different musicians. We've played these songs thousands of times on stage and they still remain like massive staples in our show. And I would say like, I've even heard it from fans who have discovered us on our newer records. They come to a show and they've gotten used to hearing Dear Maria or whatever poppin' at live, and then they go and listen to it on record and they're like, it just doesn't connect with me because it doesn't sound like what I'm used to hearing at your shows. So it was a big part of like getting that energy into the new recordings was making it sound like we sound now and being able to put it, putting Dear Maria on next to Are You There or Melancholy Kaleidoscope or Getaway Green or something like that, and having it just sonically feel like it's the same performers, the same my voice now, because I sound very different to how I sounded.
It was also really cool to redo some of those guitar tones
Yeah.
from back in the day.
I mean, like
Parts,
listening
to be
to Dear
honest.
Maria without Ryan's part for I See Your Name in Lights sounds wrong now.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's like canonized,
and that's
if you want.
it's so true. And it was daunting though, because we've all had bands not necessarily re-record, but put out new records, and we feel that like, damn, they turned their back on why we love them, and that's great. That's good for that band to do what they want to do. But for us, we wanted to stay as true to these songs in the fans' ears as possible, while still giving us something that like we want to listen to this now.
Exactly.
Because I'll be honest, like Alex brings up a great point all the time. He's like, if you're at the bar and Touch Tunes plays Dear Maria, we're kind of like, oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. But now if it was the new one, we'd be like, oh fuck yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is the one we want to be heard. And I don't think we lost any of that magic, any of that sonic like pleasantness, and it's still there. So it's a good one.
It's a tough thing to compete with, because at the end of the day, like we're never going to replace what those songs mean to the people that latched onto them then. Like those are always going to be the definitive versions, I'm sure, to whoever listened to them then. But this is our best shot at trying to bring them into the fold of where we are now as a band. And I think a lot of that speaks to the fact that we're just not done banding. 20 years in, like we want to keep going, and we have new music that is still connecting with people, and we just kind of wanted to level the playing field and have it all sort of sonically feel like it made sense together in the same picture.
And real quick before we wrap up on this portion, we have to give big shouts to Swank.
Swank,
'Cause,
did a great job.
For those that don't know, Dan Swank has been playing on stage with us for 3 years now, right around there, and he would be fine with me saying this, was a huge All-Time Low fan well before that.
Loser.
And has become, sort of our fifth Beatle, as we call him sometimes.
Sure.
And he produced this, along with all of us, Alex especially. But he came at it from a fan angle, so we had that additional perspective of like, okay, you're a fan and you're sort of in the band. and he kind of shaped it so well so that we felt very comfortable in his hands of like, okay, this is what they want to hear too.
Yeah, and he's crushing it in modern pop punk production.
Yes,
so many up and coming bands. He's like killing it.
He's the man.
He's becoming a go-to guy.
Yes.
Yeah, he's so talented. We're lucky to have him out with us because we're probably removing him from what he's best at when he's home in the studio. But we're super lucky to have him like on our team and playing on stage with us live, but also at our beck and call when we need to record something like this.
Which song on the Forever Sessions Volume 1 were you most excited to re-record and maybe like change a few things about? Like most eager to change?
I can answer
not
this one real quick.
But not I think we're gonna have the same answer. Not most excited about how it came out, but going into it, we were like, we can't wait to hear this one.
Yes.
Okay.
So for me, and again, this is no hate on the old version. It's just I think it's the one that sounds the least like us now. Lost in Stereo, getting to go back and redo that one. We've just played it so differently over the years, and it's transformed. And like, I don't even recognize myself on that song as the singer. Like, I hear the original, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. It's never. I don't even think I sang like that then. I just they happened to get a take out of me that. I hit the notes.
Also, it was high for you.
It was so high. It was out of my register at the time. So I was like squeaking these notes out on the original recording. And
producers like Melodyne had just come out. They're like, it's fine. You're close enough.
You know what that story reminds me of when you say that? It reminds me of how Hoppus kind of says the same thing about Damn It.
Damn it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And when you go back and listen to Damn It, it's like it kind of doesn't sound like Hoppus.
Yeah.
Like he's really the top
screaming.
Of his, he's kind of yelling. Yeah, he's at the top of his register. And he has a lower voice, but it is an interesting kind of similarity to that.
Yeah, and so that song in particular was one that over the years, like we've brought it down a half step live just so I can survive it on stage, and we've
sped it up.
We've sped it up a little bit. We all play
heavier,
a little heavier.
Yeah,
I mean, it was always
heavier.
it was always a little more rocked up live, and so to be able to go in and like capture all those things that we feel have made it a staple in our show over the years, because that one's never left the set.
Yeah.
So it was like, we need a version of this.
I won't allow
it. We need a version of this that actually makes sense. So that one I was pretty damn stoked to get.
Do you
to
have
know.
this? Was that your answer as well?
For that question, yeah, it was. And then I think we're all really excited about Damned as well. The way that came out. I know it's a kind of a different answer to your question.
We'll get to that. I have that in there.
All right, but yeah, that was gonna be my answer for sure. Stereo.
And then, do you have like a favorite actual specific change that you did?
Oh my
on
God.
the album?
Yes, I do. I have another one for this.
Go ahead.
The solo section in Poppin'.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's
that
the
too.
obvious one.
It was it was just a moment. It was a moment that put its hand up in the studio, and it was so that that solo section in the original is so simple. It was just sort of an octave part, more of a part than anything else, and like to get to go in and actually make it something that like kind of hits you over the head, and it was an opportunity there to do something super unexpected without throwing the entire song for a loop.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun.
Especially back then, we didn't have a lot of instrumental bridges. You know, nowadays, especially with like Don't Panic, we have a ton of those. But back then, the bridges were all pretty vocal heavy, so you couldn't throw a guitar solo over top of it or anything like that. I think we were just in that mindset when we were doing Poppin' back in the day of just, all right, throw some octaves on it and call it a day.
Yeah.
To be fair, probably I also didn't know how to.
Right.
Yeah, like we've all gotten so much better at our instruments.
It was probably there at one point or another. There probably was a conversation with Matt Squire being like, "You could like solo here," and I was like, "I don't know how, sir." You know what I mean? So I was like, "We just
like I could give you harmonics.
I got you an octave all day."
You saying I could solo here, and him being like, "No, no, you can't."
I was actually thinking about you when I was recording JC because I added some like 10s and
about me?
11s. Yeah, because I was like playing it.
Think about you right now.
Got Ryan's drum part, and I was like, hell is he playing? I had to go through and like every chorus his kick pattern changes.
Oops.
And so I like got to like I just A-beat it with just drums and bass, and I was like thinking about I was like Robbie would love this.
You're like, Robbie can't play
sent him
this shit.
bass.
All right, let's get into some of the songs. Dear Maria, obviously being the first one. Do you remember the day you wrote Dear Maria?
I remember the day that that we jammed out the
Progression.
and the skeleton of it in the basement, but it didn't have words till probably a couple months later, honestly.
I seem to remember it too in my parents' basement.
Did it evolve a lot as a song, or was it pretty much the
we
same?
do have a demo version of it that we did with Paul Levitt, and it's pretty much there. The melody's there, not quite full, and the lyrics aren't there. But
the chorus is super different.
Yeah, there was a lot of changes.
This demo
I'll
has
play
now
it
become
for
an
you.
instant holy grail.
And I think
Right.
the bridge was a lot different too.
Yeah.
It was. The bridge was completely different.
Matt
Right.
Squire
Different.
had played a huge part in like making that song what it is and makes sense. Like that was a demo that we took in to the studio, and he was kind of like, there's so much to this that doesn't add up songwriting wise. So he definitely helped us kind of craft it into something that makes sense and is what it is.
The bridge was more of a down kind of like snare roll type thing, I believe. Yeah, and then
but
was
it's
just like
an odd bridge, man. Like it's a bridge written to be played live.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to hear a record of just flams and a guitar panned right. Like it just doesn't. Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, that was a cool one, and like it was definitely one that went through several iterations because at the time back then I would never write lyrics. Like it would take me a long time to write lyrics, so I would just kind of riff melodies in the studio, and we'd live with these songs for weeks, you know, and everyone would be pushing me like, get your lyrics done. So it took a while for that one to come together.
Wasn't the bridge something along the lines of you get the verb, I'll get you all?
No, that was the chorus.
Different song.
Was it?
That was different, yeah. And also,
you guys are
speaking of lyrics, when we were younger, Alex would never like have lyrics. So if you listen to old stuff like back in the day, like everything's different every show.
Yeah.
We would play songs live that just weren't finished.
Yeah.
They would just had parts.
Like famously, you could look up like different versions of Party Scene where like literally every single verse is different.
Yeah, this is like going even further back now, like before we made our first full length So Wrong and even before the EP. But there's shows where we didn't have enough songs, so it was like we were writing music. I wasn't finishing the lyrics, but we still had shows to play.
Scary though. I would imagine for you that would be. I guess people don't know the song, so it's not like you're singing them wrong.
Yeah, you gotta be real though. Like this is back at a time when like the shows were VFW halls and the PAs were.
And you were in a band to play shows. That's all. That's the only reason why you were in a band.
Yeah. And the PAs arguably were like
you couldn't hear what you were
saying.
You couldn't
hear what I was saying regardless.
Yeah,
these are like muffled bowling
sounded like
alley
guns
shows.
screaming into a mic.
Shut up. So it didn't matter as long as the melody was solid.
And then Coffee Shop, the next one. The re-record of Coffee Shop, was the intention like, let's go in and make sure every chorus of this song fucking explodes? Yeah, because that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was, again, like that was, JC and Coffee Shop were pretty difficult needles to thread because those songs were written for us at a time where our musicianship was so much different and so much more simplistic. And
different's a good word.
Yeah.
it's simplistic, but at the same time busier. A lot of it's so busy.
We were all trying to fit as much in as we could.
Yeah.
It wasn't busy to be smart. It was busy just to be busy and intricate.
Did someone tell you to knock that off before So Wrong It's Right, or was that like a decision within the band?
I think it was more producer than anything. Just basically being like, you don't always have to do everything all the time. Like when
Squire
there was someone taught us dynamic in music and like tension building and then releasing.
I can't play any of your parts on Put Up.
I mean, it's also you learn to pick your spotlight because there are bands that the drummer is essentially soloing the whole time and that works and whatever. There are bands that during the chorus there's solos happening on guitar. But for us and our type of music, like you learn pretty quick that it's distracting from what people want to hear, which is generally the melody and the lyrics. And you just got to pick your moment to be like, okay, here's a little spot that I can put in here. And that was Squire for sure.
That's a good example of what a producer does, because a lot of people do ask, like, what does a producer do? Like, that is, like, this bridge sucks. You need a new one.
But
what
also,
is it,
like,
what
even
should it be?
further than that, what is a bridge? Like, when we went in to do So Wrong, I'm not sure we knew what song structure was. I mean, if you listen to some of those stuff before So Wrong and, like, Put Up times, it's hard for us to remember those songs because there's no structure. It's just
it's just random parts.
Again, like I already referenced Receiving Into Sirens, but like at the time, like I remember I was listening to like Boys Night Out and like obviously the first Panic record that Matt Squire did, like there are more parts than structure, and like it was less about the chorus and the bridge, and it was just about like right catchy parts.
Yeah,
and I think at the time we were about that life. We were just throwing parts out and seeing what stuck.
And Fall Out Boy was kind of doing the same thing around that time. It was kind of a little bit of a popular thing.
Fall Out Boy, Starting Line was doing stuff like that. They have weird structure and
for
all
sure.
over the place.
So I think in Coffee Shop, to your point, like we went in and like simplified the verse. Like there's a new part in the verse that kind of glues it together rather than the disconnected bullshit we did the first go around. So I think there were just some key moments that we went in and just like glued that song together a bit more.
Shorten the ending a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Left us leaving wanting more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like that, though.
Had to do it to him.
Really good.
Thanks,
Did that
man.
come before or after JC writing-wise?
That was before. Yeah, that was so we
Was
had
that a closer for you guys? back then, or was Circle still?
I think we opened with Coffee Shop a lot, but we
right.
probably did close with it sometimes too. That was
probably
a song.
was closing with Damn It back then, honestly.
Those
We
two,
closed with Damn It a lot back then.
Those two were late additions to the EP because we had, all the other songs on that EP we had already put out on a self-released record called The Party Scene. And then we kind of threw a couple of Hail Marys in when we signed with Hopeless, and they wanted to basically repackage a few songs from our self-release, and we went, no, we want to redo these because we're not happy with them. And we got to write Coffee and JC.
I remember that being a big discussion because, it wasn't really part of the record deal, putting out that EP. But we were like, we want to do this because these songs are good, but we can do it a little bit better now.
And we were going on Warped Tour, and we wanted to have something to sell at our merch tent.
Yeah.
Because that's like really how you survive on Warped Tour.
Yeah.
Was selling CDs for $5, then $4, then $3.
Please listen.
We were trying
just to fucking take it.
I saw you guys at a Warped Tour in Scranton, Pennsylvania that had like the worst hailstorm.
I remember that.
I remember it, yeah.
So I was there, and it was going to be like my first time meeting you guys, and I was stoked. So you had to show up early at the tent and get like a flyer, and then later you would show up and get the flyer signed. And it hailed so much that the flyer disintegrated. Bag. And I like brought up like this floppy piece of paper, and I was like, "Can I still get in?" And they were like, "Definitely not."
Get out of the line,
later
nerd.
in the day, and you pointed me out because you were on the other side of the fence. We were both wearing the same T-shirt, which said "Boner" on it.
Oh.
Where'd you get yours?
Like the coincidence that we both had it on that day. It's so weird.
Speaking of which, actually, when's this air? Friday? Yeah,
Friday.
We can talk about the GK thing, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can
What are
talk
you
about
getting
it.
at?
There's
Well,
a
because
GK
that was
thing?
a
A recent
JGK
GK
shirt.
thing?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the
Oh, well, GK shirt's coming out
A
tomorrow.
comeback?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So at the time that this airs, we'll have just done. We're doing a pop-up shop in Baltimore, in our hometown, and one of the little surprises that we got together with Marky from Glamour Kills, and we actually managed to twist his arm enough to like let us do some GK collabs.
Wow.
So a couple of the items there are the GK callback shirts, which
Holy
are
shit.
so funny.
And he still
they're
got
like-
it.
Yeah. They're fully like 2006 coded as
I
hell.
love that.
Like
It's
got
still the
doodles,
stuff I
it's
wear
got-
on stage with Pup Punk because
Hell
it's,
yeah.
just
It's an
like,
old photo of us that we dug up from Warped Tour. It's
So cool,
awesome.
man.
It's like
I love that.
Yeah, he sent the designs over, and I was like,
He's the man.
I had a Glamour Kills Christmas where it was just like go on Tumblr and see what all my favorite bands are wearing and then just request those exact outfits.
Glamour Kills was such an important part of our scene and community of what we came up in, and so it was really cool to bring that back.
we always looked at it like, us looking up to Blink. Blink was always like so tied to Hurley and
Hurley,
eventually
yeah.
Atticus, their own brands,
Exactly.
Macbeth, and so GK
Which were
was
really
like
like
a little-
understated, like small logos, and then
Yeah.
we were like, we're gonna do different.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Giant pigs. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Still though, the straight to DVD show at the Hammerstein Ballroom. That's like one where I'm like, oh, if I could go to any concert, like that's high on my list.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
I've watched that DVD 1,000 times.
That was good, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm gonna grab my cold brew.
Oh yeah, grab your cold brew.
Exiting the set.
Damned. Did you feel a lot of pressure on Damned re-recording the Goes?
Oh no, the Goes are Alex.
Are the Goes you?
Yeah.
I figured
On
Jack would do them on
record-
the re-record just because you do them live.
On record, yeah. I think honestly, the goes on the new one were I think we just turned a mic on like hot in the room and just had like
Just started yelling.
yeah, we just had someone go and then whichever one sounded best
Yeah.
just got dropped
So
in.
maybe Jack.
It could be Jack.
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
Could be Swank's dog
Could
Tito.
be Dan.
But you
Could be
did say
Tito.
this is your favorite.
Damned was my favorite the way it came out. Yeah, because Damned for me, a lot of these songs we've played almost every show. Stereo Maria, Damned, probably one of them. And there are times live where you kind of go on autopilot. You just think about other things.
What are you thinking about?
A lot of times, like, what am I doing after the show? What am I going to grab for dinner?
Oh, so you can't wait to get out of there.
So
No.
you really had to decide whether you want a grilled chicken Caesar wrap or just grilled chicken.
Yeah.
Right.
Speeding
I
the
got it.
tempo up so you get to it quicker.
It's not that I don't enjoy playing. It's just we play it so many times. And then I would listen to the original recording, and I'd be like, wow, we really have changed this quite a bit live.
Yeah.
It just feels different. There's a different weight to it. And I was a little, not nervous, but whether or not we could capture it on the re-record, and it's just awesome.
It's great.
And a
That's
few
one-
new hooks to it. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
vocal chops.
one that we took a couple new creative liberties with it. That was a fun one because I always felt like that song, even when we did it back then, was kind of a missed opportunity. Like I felt like that was a hit song. Like it was in my mind that felt like it should have been a radio hit at the time. We didn't have the structure around our band to kind of facilitate that then. So like we made it, in my mind, we sort of reimagined it to update it and bring it into a world where like I could hear it probably on radio now.
Yeah.
Like, and I think like that's what we went for with that song. That was always such a single in our minds, and so it was fun kind of leaning hard into that.
And all the ingredients, like the intro's catchy, and this isn't just patting ourselves, but just looking back, it really is. Intro's catchy, verse is catchy, chorus, bridge is awesome. Like it's just a really great song that I feel like throughout the years, maybe the original recording didn't age very well, and so to be able to put it out there again,
it did.
Yeah, I know. To my ears.
I'm glad that this exists, because especially when you guys did the "It's Still Nothing" personal recordings. It's like as soon as I knew that was recorded, I texted you. I was like, "Oh, did you play the new live parts in Damned?"
Yeah,
like that was like so one of the things that All Time Low fans, like you said, you hear the part live so many times, and you're such a great live band that people want to come back and see the show so many times that you listen to it originally and you're like, ooh, but I wish he did that like single show.
Butch Walker songs will always be just amazing. Like they just age so like a fine wine.
Yeah. To this day, I mean, Sick Little Games to me is still a top all-time low song. You know, it's never really caught on as a great live song and a huge like fan favorite, but to me, that's a Butch song through and through, which I love.
And then we've got 6 Feet Under the Stars. Is it true that 6 Feet Under the Stars is like a sequel to Coffee Shop Soundtrack?
Ooh, yeah, somewhat.
Songs are connected.
Same setting, same
universe.
It's all
same cinematic universe.
Same city.
Yeah, same city, same evening out on those cobblestone streets.
People always like those little connections. They like the Modern Love Stacy's mom one from the last interview.
Yeah.
And people love to assert truth to them. Not this, like, but I'll read some online and be like, what?
Oh, yeah. Some of my favorite shit is like the stuff that we share with each other of like people's
theories, fan theories.
Speculate online as though it's fact and they know. And there's just stories of like, oh, no, this is what this song is about. And it's complete bullshit. And I'm like, we'll just send it to each other like, that's
why I said, like, is it true that this is the sequel? Because if you go online, it's like, this is the a direct sequel and follow-up to Coffee Shop.
My cousin works with Alex's mom, and sometimes he comes into work.
No, I mean, there is truth to that one for sure. It is kind of the follow-up to Coffee Shop, definitely.
This is probably what the Star Wars directors also talk about.
But dude, it's even to the point. It's even to the point sometimes where I've been like, do we retroactively like confirm?
Yeah, because sometimes it's cool.
We could look like geniuses if I'm just taking all your shit from the internet. Whatever you guys come up with, the theories, and then I'm like,
you guys are smarter than us, is what we've realized.
I'm canonizing all the good stuff.
But it also goes so much like deeper. Like you'll read, not even about us, but like, oh, you can tell that's when Fueled by Ramen really started like writing their songs for them. And we're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
It's such a interesting. Like it's taken on its own life of like how labels work, how the industry works. You hear all this like industry plant stuff, and we're like, we've been in this world for 20 plus years, and it's like never seen evidence of any of this stuff.
It's like how we talk about like football.
It's exactly
movies. Like we think we know what we're talking about.
It sounds like something an industry plant would say. I'm gonna be real right now. Just
have any of you guys ever had the experience of getting recognized on Thames Street?
Ooh, actually,
we did
funny
that one
story.
time. Yeah.
We were doing videos for. It was when we were on Last Young Renegade, that record, and we were doing.
What's that song we did it at Rock?
Called Nice to Know You.
Nice to Know You, all over the place.
We filmed all over Baltimore, and we had this moment that was so like deflating and like humbling. We're out literally on the corner of Thames Street and South Broadway, getting that sign for the footage, and two young women drive by in a car, and they stop the car and roll down the window, and they're like, "Aren't you the guys from All Time Low?" And we're like, "Yeah, you know, it's us." Like, and they're like, "We didn't know you guys were still a band. That's great." We're like, "Fuck." Yeah,
well, it's also like we're all standing there together. Like, we just come down here all the time. Just
we stand under the sign.
We meet here once a year and just talk
I just
about
deadpan walk into the river.
That would be, if you're like
Please
a
don't
diehard
do that.
All Time Low fan though, and you run into you guys there, it's like running into like the Beatles on Abbey Road.
And they could truly have not given two shits.
So speaking of music videos, Weightless is the next song on the Forever Sessions. I think Weightless is one of the most iconic All Time Low videos, obviously.
I agree.
Dude, I love that video so
good.
much.
Do you have
So
like an
questionable.
actual favorite music video?
Man, Weightless, it always slips my mind, but that is a really good one.
I love the Weightless and Damned videos are probably
they're
the best,
great.
I think.
But
that was the first time that our videos like really took a step up quality wise.
The CGI in Weightless is holding up to this
right?
day. Yeah.
It was
Cameos.
We had
the
marketing.
full
We had
thing,
Pete in it. It was a cool one.
I know that
Vinny
like
Vegas.
you know,
Vegas.
say what you
Shout
want
out.
about the song, but I think Dancing is one of the best videos. I feel like
is.
Dancing. Yeah, I love
all
that
the like
so
recreations.
much. Yeah, the recreations,
so
the
good.
tongue in cheek, just the. along with the song, that was also just like a fun party who cares song. The video, it was so well done, and just the feeling about it was perfect, I think. And it was fun.
sure.
I got my wallet got stolen that day.
Oh,
I remember.
And we had just come from Vegas, and I had like $1,800 or something that I won.
Ooh,
Sad.
that's
bad. You won't forget
Sad.
that.
Dark
one.
times.
Things.
I think something's
Why'd
got
you
to
have to
give was up there.
I weirdly, I made $1,800 that day.
Oh, nice.
Something's got to give. That's good.
The Weightless re-record doesn't sound too different than the original. Was this one where you were kind of like, we're gonna stick to how it sounded, but update the
But make it-
production?
Yeah, that was another one that felt pretty important to not stray too far. Kind of in the same school of thought as Maria. It was like this feels like such a staple cornerstone all-time low song. We didn't want to take it so far off the rails that it would feel unfamiliar to people or throw people too much. But it was, again, it's a nice one to kind of have a new touch of production on it and get to approach it in a new way and add a little grit to it, add some weight to it. I think like the breakdowns really kind of hit now.
Big,
Things like,
big
I call it a
breakdowns.
breakdown, but just, the heavier
Yeah.
moments in the song. So it's kind of nice to have it like,
Yeah, it's interesting
Bumping.
how like some of the songs we wrote and then we kind of like shaped throughout the years, like we've been talking about, and then some songs like Weightless kind of like shaped us moving forward, like how we write. Is that gonna be okay? That sound? We're virtual sound checking downstairs. What you're hearing, but yeah. So
that is a virtual sound check. That's
we don't even have to
fucking
be there.
crazy.
Technology.
so this is probably our last show. Whatever our last show was is what he's sound checking with now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's some high tech shit you
Wild.
guys got going.
But he
on.
can like solo out anything, so he can solo
Yeah.
out kick, bass, whatever. So it's like
Wait,
we're on
shit,
stage.
really?
Finding
but
out
yeah,
how the sausage
I have to
gets
go
made now.
do something.
So like throughout the years,
delete
Weightless
some
hasn't
files
really
for us.
like changed that much live. Like there's a few like chunks that we've
The
updated.
intro.
But
Did you think about changing the intro for the re-record?
big talk, yeah.
It was talked about it. It wasn't like an argument, but it definitely was at least brought up.
Yeah.
So we the nice thing about that was we got to redesign that loop.
Yeah.
Which at the time when the song came out, like that was controversial. Like I will never forget.
That's so much shit.
Weightless was one of the first songs we put out from that record, and it literally got shit on the message boards
Absolute
for
punk.
being way too poppy.
using a loop.
Yeah, 'cause
someone
we used
someone
it.
compared it to Postal Service.
And the post chorus like breakdown, whatever you want to call it, is maybe like one of the heaviest moments in your entire catalog.
It's just always just like, oh, well, I always knew these guys weren't pop punk. This just proves it. Like,
and now looking back, like nothing personal.
yeah.
with
Listen,
the album that wasn't pop punk.
I love the Postal Service, but what?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard the Postal
Yeah,
Service?
no.
Well, even then, like that was kind of the intention of the song, though, was to do these drastically different moments on one song. Was to have something that leaned into like programmed drums and fully leaning into that, and then have this heavy moment at the end of the chorus. But yeah, it was kind of fun to get to go and reinvent that loop, because back then, like we were using Reason and like kind of these bad samples to make beats like that. So it was nice just being able to pull from like an updated folder of samples and stuff like that.
we went from an open hi-hat every bar
Yeah.
to every other bar.
Yeah, really
your little-
finessed.
Yeah.
I had
Go
that.
ahead.
in my notes.
Less is more.
There's going to be riots over this.
Less is more.
Poppin' Champagne again. One of the first things that I texted you, I was like, this knocked me on my ass when I heard it. It was like the Star Wars fan of me. Initially, it was like, that's not canon. But then it's like, oh my god, I've listened to it 1,000 times. And even the second half of that bridge breakdown, it hits so much harder with the guitar solo in it.
Love
you
it.
guys did like a portion of Poppin' Champagne at the acoustic show last night.
First time.
Well, you
First
guys
time.
did the full thing actually.
Yeah,
We were
we did.
initially going to do a portion, and the crowd kept going.
That
so
was,
you
that was
had
the
to
first time
finish
we've
it.
ever done that.
Alex literally was handed a bottle of champagne. That's probably Prosecco. He always does.
It's actually not champagne unless it's from
It's
the
actually
champagne
not from
region in
France.
front.
So.
It's Kava.
And Jack started playing popping, and we had to do it. It was the
It-
I knocked
Right.
him. He's like, we're going to keep going. And I was like, yep.
Just kept going. There was part of me where I was like, I don't think anyone's going to be able to do that solo on an acoustic guitar.
It was just mouth organ.
Another one.
You were there.
Oh.
On the record that sounds not too different than the actual like instrumental of the original is JC.
Yeah.
I feel like this sounds like pretty similar enough. Where do you ever take a step back and you're like, damn, we were pretty fucking good in high school?
No.
Yeah, not really. I will say JC is a song that like a lot of songs we wrote back then I'm not particularly like not proud of, but JC's a song that I could put on today and be like, damn, that's pretty cool that we were
Yeah.
17.
It's insane
Yeah.
to me
Years
listening
old.
to it that like I'm listening to a teenager.
Yeah.
sing
It's
right
one
now.
where I feel less of the growing pains. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like I look
yeah.
back on the younger version of us making music, and for sure, like to kind of parrot what you said, it's like, okay, yeah, we had something with that one for sure.
How many people do you think got the bridge tattooed on them?
Oh my
I've seen
God.
some crazy
Yeah.
ones over the years. There's the full rib cage one.
Oh, I've seen
So
that.
it's-
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it might be in your handwriting. It's handwriting.
I've definitely been, I don't love doing it but people have asked, will you write this out for me to get tattooed? And it's, at your own discretion, kind of thing. But like, I feel bad because my handwriting's not great. But yeah, I mean, I've written that song out a lot for people.
That was
one
of the
main
main,
it's
Tumblr
just JC with a
tattoos.
bunch of Y's. JC. That's the tattoo.
Lost in Stereo. I know I've told you guys. I don't know if you know this. My band growing up, which was initially named The Party Scene when we were.
I love
in sixth
that.
grade.
Good band name.
We eventually changed our name 100 times and took 3 band names from the same line in Lost in Stereo.
Wait, what?
Can we get this without him telling us?
At one point, yeah. Can you get it?
What you what? Sorry?
There's one line in Lost in Stereo that we pulled 3
took
separate band names
from
our
one
band
line.
went by these. It should be obvious, I think. Second verse, I believe.
I was say snake bite heart.
Bubblegum.
Yeah, we
Bubblegum
were
Smile.
Switchblade Attitude, and
Oh
then
my gosh,
the band
yes.
said that sounds like a hardcore
Yeah, it's
band.
tough
Like we
band.
can't be Switchblade Attitude, and we're all in 6th grade. So we changed to
That's tough
Bubblegum
as hell.
Smile,
Went the other way with it.
and it went way the other way. And they were like, "Dude, we're not Bubblegum Smile. We're definitely not Bubblegum Smile." And then
Bubblegum
we
Smile.
said, "Let's meet in the middle," and we were Snakebite Heart, which I was like, "This is kind of sick."
That's sick.
And then it got changed to Fixed at Zero was our eventual band name, which
okay.
wasn't as good.
Damn.
But yeah.
Snake bite heart's kind of dope.
Yeah.
And this was our closer. We would open with Dear Maria, close
Let's
with Lost in
go.
Stereo. We just said, let's take straight to DVD and flip it.
Yeah.
That's
This is awesome.
We butchered it. We butchered both
These
songs.
all-time
Yeah.
low fucks aren't going to know what hit them.
This is some amazing lore. I had no
Yeah.
idea. That's
Yeah,
so
that's-
sick.
that's-
Snake bite
the
heart's kind of
Robbie
a great
Fox
band
lore.
name.
I was gonna say next time if we ever do like one of those where you put yourself on a bill as like a fake band name, I think we're
Yes.
gonna have to do Snakebite Hearts.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's your Foxborough Hot Tubs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
That's-
exactly.
yeah. It's a good one.
And then, so this is coming out on Friday.
Sure is.
You guys did some of the best musicianship you've ever done as a band on the Forever Sessions, I think.
Thanks, man.
But I also think a lot of people are going to be talking about the features when this drops. And they're going to be talking about people that aren't sitting on this couch right here.
Right.
Remembering Sunday featuring Lindsey Sterling and Lisa Gaskarth.
Yeah.
So when I got this, it said Lisa GA ... And there was no
Texted
way
me.
to continue. And I was just like, wait a minute.
He
is
said, quote, no fucking way that's his wife singing, right?
Yeah.
I didn't
so
know she
good.
was a singer.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
knew she was a singer because you've been teasing the features everywhere.
She has the best voice in the band.
Literally
Yeah.
nobody guessed her.
Yeah,
Nobody has guessed it to this
She
moment.
blew us away, man.
Really?
And I noticed when you were playing it last night, a few people gave her a nudge, like, oh,
I
you
know,
this
I know.
song?"
We're like waiting on that moment when she finally comes on stage and does it with us. But yeah, like I don't know, man. That it was when we first met. We've known each other since high school. And when we first met, like one of the things that I found so amazing about her was how good of a singer she was. Like I was very attracted to her for how dope she was as a singer and performer. And but like didn't do it much. Like just sang like karaoke or
Was
with like.
she ever in a band or performed or anything?
No,
like that?
not really. Like she was never a performer. Every now and then she'd like get up on a karaoke stage or at like a talent show and just flex on everybody. And I was like, damn, she's got a really good voice. And then, you know, our roads have led us here. We did a band and she is an
did do a
event
band,
planner and a wedding coordinator and just took a different path in life. But I've always
And a wedding singer.
Yeah.
so this is the new marketing angle that we've got. But like, so it was always kind of like known to us, but it wasn't really ever put out there into the world that she absolutely kills it.
And did you ever have the thought over the last 20 years of like, you're doing a song with a female vocalist, not that she's like at every show that you're going to, but have you ever had the thought, hey, hop on stage and do this?
Yeah,
Early days, didn't she do a couple?
there might have been or very early on. There might have been
Like in high
something,
school.
but yeah, not in any capacity of like, you know, at any shows or anything like that. I think it was just always like maybe she felt a little weird. I felt like I don't know what it was, but we just never really crossed that bridge. And then when we had the opportunity to go and re-record this song, it was like, how do you replace a feature that was pretty iconic from that moment? You know, like the first version of it featured Juliet Sims, who I think now goes by Lilith Czar. And she's got a great voice and it's such a staple voice and so unique. And it was going to be really hard to find a person to replace her. You know what I mean? Like for this new version. And so going out there and putting out feelers and being like, who do we get to feature on this thing was a really tricky task. And then it was like, all right, we've never played this card. We've never
Keep it in the family.
Yeah, this is something we've never explored before. So I went to her and just said like, would you feel comfortable doing this? Do you want to try? And she was like, I haven't sang in years, but I'll give it a go.
And he brought it up to us, and it's a beautiful thing for many reasons, but also just celebrating 20 years of us, and she's been there almost from the beginning, in one capacity. And we were like, look, man, this is a great idea, and we all knew she could sing. But
what if she sucks?
But you have to be okay, and we said this, you have to be okay if it's not awesome. Like, I know she can sing, that we're going to say, sorry, man. And he's like, of course, it's not a problem. I'm like, yeah. And
dude, I had to have that conversation with her.
Yeah, that's a tough conversation.
I had to sit down with my wife and say, hey, like, A, are you comfortable trying this? And B, if it's not,
we might not use it.
If it's not sick, we may not. And she was like, totally get it. She was so, bless her. She was so like humble and nervous about it, and was just like, I don't think I'm gonna kill this. And I was just like, Lise, you're gonna kill it.
We got it back, and I was out somewhere, and the guys are all like, "Oh my god, dude, she killed it! She killed it! It's awesome!" And I was like, "Okay." And I was out in public somewhere, and I went to the bathroom AirPods, and I was like, "Oh my god,
chills,
it's perfect."
It's such a great song for this moment too, because when she comes in, it's like, whoa, she's a good singer. And then you start to realize, like, oh, but you're going to have to get to that moment where it starts to go high, and then she goes high, and you're like, oh, like I have chills talking about it. It's that good.
It's really good.
It's that good.
She absolutely crushed it. It was really special. We had never, like, only in sort of more like just behind the scenes fun capacity had ever like recorded anything together, and so we'd never really gotten to do anything official. And even just sitting on the couch, like watching her do takes of the song was like amazing.
Was
for
she
me.
stoked with it when she heard it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, again, like coaching someone through, it's so different singing in the vocal booth than it is like getting on a stage and singing. So like kind of coaching her through those moments, it was really fun to kind of get to do that together. It was special.
It's awesome. Unfortunately, her feature rate nearly bankrupted the band, but we're working through it.
Which is kind of weird because like you guys are married, so like,
without
your car, you just go.
She also has a writing credit on the song.
Producer credit.
Yeah, she's cut in.
And then with Lindsay, it was perfect too, because going back to the way the song sounded originally, it was perfect for the time. But the strings, again, that was kind of like a big thing back then, was these programmed strings and programmed synths and everything. And we were trying to think of like how to recreate that and keep the magic. And we've known Lindsay for many years.
Yeah.
And she's
got on stage with you guys, right? Yeah.
I remember that. Kids in the Dark with us.
She did and she's so talented and such a good composer.
Yeah.
She writes incredible parts, has a great ear for melody, and so it was kind of another one of those moments where it was like, this is a no-brainer. If she's available to do it, she will absolutely kill this. So we hit her up and just said, hey, like, would you want to write the string arrangements for this? And she came through.
She did it on tour.
And like the next day, she had it.
Yeah,
that is awesome. One that I saw, not a lot, but some people did guess that, and I think it's because it makes so much sense. When you said, specifically when you said we have two features, people were like, well, they're probably not going to have two singers at the end of the song, so it's got to be a string arrangement, and it makes a lot of sense. And not to undercut that at all by talking about how great Lisa's part is, because the string arrangement on this is great as well.
Awesome. That song is all ear candy now. Like I love listening to that one in particular on headphones.
Yeah, the way you come in a a little differently with the drum roll, I love that too.
You fucker.
Yeah. You weren't there, so I was able to do it.
You did that.
I really get to become a stickler when it comes to drum parts.
If the Forever Sessions were not a re-record album, but a tribute album, are there any bands you could imagine or would like to hear covering these songs?
Whoa.
Man. That's a great
I would love
question.
to hear Post Malone do Remembering Sunday.
I would love to hear that as well. He just put out a country album.
Like emotional kind of like, the voice for that.
Posty shouted that song out at one point as something that was like kind of in his formative years.
Was it Therapy or Sunday? I can't remember.
I thought it was Remembering Sunday. But yeah, it would be cool to hear him do that.
Yeah.
That's a great question, and I can't think of a cool answer. I'm going song by song.
Halsey did it with us in New York.
I was there for that.
Yeah,
that was
we
awesome.
did. So that would be cool to hear her on it again. I mean, damn, there's so many good bands.
Like if I were to mention like a Blink, for example, like of the 8 songs on the Forever Sessions, which one could you imagine Blink doing?
JC maybe?
I think they could do. I mean, they could do any of it.
I'd love to hear that.
I think they might be.
I'd like to hear like Tom's kind of like Darker Angels type vibe on like with JC.
Yeah.
I think of like Coffee Shop being a cool Travis song. That's the way I think of it.
Yeah.
Very Travis-y, like verses.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear 4 Year Strong do Weightless.
Yeah,
that would be
He
awesome.
used to play it with us.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
That's Warped Tour throwback. He would come out and play.
For some reason, I'm trying to think of like a gritty band doing stereo, like Royal Blood or something.
Dope.
Like
Very
darker.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
you
thought
haven't
of that.
mentioned punk anywhere.
Can't afford them.
Again,
Well, we're just talking about people we can
Alright,
afford.
yeah.
we blew the feature budget on Lisa. So sorry, we don't have.
So I want to play the All Time Low eras game with you now. So what we're going to do is act like every album from All Time Low is its own era. And then I'm going to ask you questions, just a couple, and we'll say which era you associate most with that.
Love that.
So which All Time Low era was the real party scene?
Oh,
Ooh.
If you just had to name one, I know there's probably a couple.
that's a great.
So we named the record basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which era
era?
was with
Yeah.
applies?
I'm gonna
to
go.
I'm gonna go nothing personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing
I'm say
personal.
Dirty Work.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Oh.
Dirty Work too.
Oh, okay.
Dirty Work was like the first album where things started clicking for us. Like it was a third record, like full record. Like we were out there. We had become and grown into like a good steady touring business.
That's fair. Yeah.
We were
But what
going all
about-
over the world.
Don't Panic that year with Pierce.
Oh my
Oh
God!
my-
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that
Okay.
was-
Yeah.
That was the Warped Tour year.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
shows.
It's
Don't
a
Panic,
lot
it's
of them
a
have been.
lot of Jameson.
You could say it's like a central theme of the entire band.
Yeah.
I have a feeling the next question might have a similar answer. Which era was the biggest whirlwind for you guys? We're looking back on it. It's almost like hard to even remember a lot about it.
Wake Up Sunshine was weird because COVID.
Yeah.
True.
So we put out that record, and less than a month later, the world shut down.
Yeah.
Dirty Work Dirty Work was probably the most touring we did because
Yeah.
we were international a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
we
that
were
was
overseas
new
the most.
label at the time, right?
That was
Yeah, we
that was
just signed with
Interscope.
Interscope.
We were like international in Europe. We were on tour with Green Day in Europe.
Record came out randomly when we were in Germany.
Yeah,
Well,
like
that's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a whirlwind too.
yeah. We're a lot of
And, like,
Australia,
we were-
a lot of Asia. So
Yeah, we were constantly promoting that one. It was definitely the toughest touring schedule we'd ever had so far, and like it was big stuff, but also like it was stuff that was like we were doing things, taking the 1 a.m. slot on a festival in the middle of nowhere in Germany, that kind of thing, like to sort of break into these markets we hadn't really tapped into yet. So
Did it
was,
work?
like, to a degree, yeah. I mean,
bit.
like I think at the time we made a lot of progress in those
Yeah.
places that we could then follow up with and
also
go back and
also
tour
the
for
Green Day
life.
tour like really helped us. In
Yeah,
Europe.
that was a big one.
Yeah.
Like it
Big
really did a lot for us.
But it was grueling for sure.
This one might be a tough one. What is the most underrated all-time low era?
Ooh,
Dirty.
underrated.
Renegade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Renegade because I think that
that's a great answer.
one day
It's the right
if
answer.
we continue with these re-records, I think that Renegade will really shine. And I love that record so much. I love the songs, but watching videos of us playing them live, nothing like gets me more excited. Like there's just
Yeah.
a certain spark there of the type of songwriting versus how we do it live versus the production. It all works together. That
That record had to walk so that like the rest
Yeah.
of our music following could run, and like it was an interesting one because it sounds very, very different for us. And I think to your point, like the recordings even sound drastically different from anything we've ever done before because it was essentially us experimenting with like how to make All Time Low sound different and how to evolve it past what people I think were used to hearing from us. So at the time, I remember like when that record came out, it threw a lot of people, and like it now is looked upon really fondly within our fan base, and a lot of those songs stand out as favorites in our show.
Live
But
staples.
yeah,
couple
for
of them.
Dirty Laundry is a huge one,
Life
and
of the
like
Party was
yeah,
a
yeah,
staple for a long
exactly.
time,
But at the time, I remember it was a record as a whole that was met with a lot of criticism, not from like it was. I think critics like loved it because it was different and it
Yeah.
was us like evolving.
the songwriting is very good.
But like our fan base was very much like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if I know this band. So it was an odd, like tumultuous time for us because we were trying to kind of get people to still be on board with the kind of music we were trying to make.
and we didn't really know what we wanted it to sound like. Like we
Yeah.
had the songs right where we wanted them. We had the parts, but the mixing of that record was a really tough thing for all of us. And looking back now,
I just kept saying, I want synths.
synths,
I
no
just wanted
cymbals, and
synths.
it makes sense. But now, like seeing how we do it live, if we could get another go at the mixing of it, I think it would be super powerful.
For sure.
And then we've got the most punk rock all-time low era.
I might say that one just because it was us doing what the fuck we wanted
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So maybe that.
But like from a live show, live amps, not giving a fuck, definitely put up or shut up.
Yeah, I figured
that
the earliest.
Dude, we were playing
Yeah.
basements, so we had like live amps. It was chaotic. There was no barricades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like the most it felt like we were a pop punk band.
I think
Somebody
also.
said about. Go ahead.
Oh, good. I was gonna say don't panic as well. Because just of what it represented for the band and what it did for the band. Like we had just come out of Dirty Work, which was our first major release, and then the carpet got pulled out from under us. You know what I mean? And we dropped from the label and basically re-signed and had to go and make like essentially what I look at as like a return to form kind of album. And we were like, we knew that we had to go and make just a really fucking solid pop punk record, like back to what made us, you know, what made people jump on board to begin with. But
still
doing
like
it through
super,
the lens of,
it's technical. Like it's not easy. It's not just
I can't
like
play any of
it's
those
not
songs.
down the middle, which is why I say it's like I'm so proud of that record because it's exactly that. Like we did have something to prove, but we did it in a really difficult way, which panned out perfectly because the songs are tough musically, tough vocally,
for sure.
And we pulled it off live too. So there's a proudness to that. But I think that is our most like pop punk record.
Yeah, and it was kind of us getting back to like the ethos that we started with, which was like, all right, well, if the major label system didn't work for us, like let's just go and DIY the shit out of this record, and it sort of brought people back into the fold in a really big way.
I was playing Breakout in the basement with 50 kids. That's pretty punk rock.
Yeah.
Our amps just feeding back the entire time.
Our amps just never working.
Never working.
Were you guys like a big thing with my band in middle school was like, because I think you guys used wireless packs, we were like, we need wireless packs for all of our shows. And we were playing the smallest stages of all time.
100%. That was like one of the things, and it was the same for us. Like when we were first coming up in high school, and we were really lucky that Baltimore had this pretty incredible local scene, and there were a couple of like older bands that really held it down in that world. Shout out Adelphi, shout out Supergiant MD, shout out Underscore. Matt Flyzik, our original tour manager, he was a singer. And like these bands that we looked up to in the scene and were kind of inspiration for us to get better and do better and have bigger amps. Where it was those bands, and they was like, oh shit, like Flyzik's on in-ears now, dude. Like you hear, and so then we're like, the next thing is like, all right, we got to play a show and save up enough money to go like get an in-ear.
Well, I can't spin my guitar on my back if I'm using a cable. Yes.
Yeah. So it was kind of like we were striving for like the gear that you had with you was like, I remember it was like early shows with Just Surrender.
Yep.
Just Surrender rolled through and came and did a show with us in Baltimore, and this was early days, and they all had like, they had signed a deal, so they got that advance, so they got that nice gear update, and we were just like, damn, dude, that's a real band. Yeah. That's a real band.
Watching Brighton, the band Brighton with now Justin plays in Dan and Shay, but a bunch of bands spawned from Brighton, and I remember watching them being like, wait, there's a tambourine being played, but no one's playing it. And that was like the next week we had tambourine in all of our songs.
Backing tracks.
Was he in Rocket to the Moon too?
Yeah.
I saw they opened up for you on that first All Time Low show I ever saw. It was
they're on
Before You Exit, Rocket to the Moon.
Wow. City Comma State?
City Comma State. Yeah. All right, and then the final on the eras game. What is the era you're most proud of? You just spoke about having pride in, the punk rock era.
I mean, it's hard not to say the forever era.
Yeah.
Because like all we've been doing this year is looking back at a 20-year career that, anyone would have guessed would have been 20 weeks maybe. And it's just insane that we're still here doing it bigger than ever. It's
the era of all the eras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I would have to agree. I think also maybe, I mean, as odd as it was because of COVID, I think that maybe the bridge from Wake Up Sunshine into PMA and Once in a Lifetime and those songs that bridge the gap into Tell Me I'm Alive, I think that was also really kind of special for us.
That was a moment for you guys, for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
It's been a crazy, crazy ride.
Now, I only have two questions left, but selfishly, one of them has to be, I think I'm probably the biggest dual All-Time Low and Kiss fan in the entire world.
Jesus.
So, I mean, I have to ask.
By largest, you mean only?
How many people can say that?
I don't know if anyone else could say that, but I am like a card-carrying member of the Kiss Army.
Love that.
Grew up loving Kiss more than any other band.
I went to their last show at MSG.
Dude, they are the band I grew up with more than anything.
You must have freaked when he was playing.
It was the biggest
General Simmons or whatever his
name
is.
Time when like my brother texted me, he's like, "Hey, Alex is gonna be playing Peter Criss in the movie," and I was like, "I'm pretty sure I'm high right now."
Yeah.
There's no way that's
I'm
true.
pretty sure I was high. Like when that whole thing came
Are
together.
you a Kiss fan at all?
So to be completely honest, like I not because I don't like the band or anything that. I'm just not a huge I never got into Kiss really. But like so, my friend Evan, that movie is about his father.
Okay.
And so he was sort of, his brother directed it. He was helping put this movie together, and out of nowhere, I get a text one day from my buddy Evan, and he's just like, "Hey man, like, do you want to be in a movie?" I was like, "Yeah. What do you got?" And he's like, "You're playing the drummer in Kiss." I was like, "Sign me up. Let's go." Why not? I'd never acted in anything really before. I'm not an actor, and it's a real movie.
It was in
theaters.
Full theatrical release.
Yeah, it's a real movie. Yeah. And so crazy. I was terrified going into this thing, but it was really cool.
You
to
feel
be
better when you put the cat paint on. You're like, all right, it's my war paint. It's a disguise.
Man. But because of the movie, like I obviously had to do a little bit of like research because I think people just expect that you kind of know the legacy and all of it, but I really didn't know the story or anything of how that stuff played out with the band. So I had to go in and like do some research on Peter Criss and the song that he wrote.
Beth,
their
highest charting song ever.
Hit. It's a wild story. Yeah.
It was frustrating though because that whole like month or two prior, he would just always be wearing the makeup.
Yeah, I was very method. Very method for a 30-second scene.
Yeah. And then my final question: what do you want when it's all said and done? People to say about All Time Low? I know that's like kind of a loaded question. It's hard to answer, but is it the live shows, the fan connection, the longevity, the music itself? Like, what do you want to be the most talked about thing when All Time Low is said and done?
That's such a tough one. I think the legacy and the community.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's really important to me is that this, whatever this little thing was that rose out of a basement in Baltimore, and for most of it has really just been us figuring it out as we go and growing up doing it. I think it's looking back, just wild and incredible that we've managed to stand the test of time this way, and that it's mattered to people as much as it has. You know what I mean? The fact that 20 years in, there's still people showing up to come and see us in droves in certain places is just wild. And like, I hope that we're remembered for that. I hope that we're remembered as like the band that just wouldn't go away. You know what I mean? Like a lot of artists come and go, and I think we've been very lucky that it's been this kind of incredible ride for us that we've continued on.
I love it. I think that will be how you're remembered, honestly. The longevity, you guys are second to none with how you've evolved with your fans, with the music, all of it. The All Time Low Forever album, or Forever Sessions, I'm sorry, is out now. Check it out. Download it wherever you can download it, stream it, buy the physical copies. That helps them a lot. And go see him on tour. The tour will be over by the time this comes out, right?
Yeah.
So
one show left.
Wrapping up.
Be able to play on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. Go see him tomorrow.
Come see us tomorrow at Merriweather.
Yeah. All right. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Robbie.